Hi and welcome to this Introduction to Kotlin tutorial. So this tutorial is for you if you have little programming experience and you want to learn the Kotlin programming language. So Kotlin is a programming language that you can use for building Android apps, desktop applications, and web applications. So this tutorial is intended for you if you're a complete beginner and you want to learn the Kotlin programming language. If you are moving from Java and you want to learn the Kotlin programming language, this tutorial is probably not for you because I will be covering basic things starting from the basic syntax, various programming things such as variables, functions, and things like that. If you already have experience with various programming languages, then this tutorial will probably be below your scope of level. However, if you're new to programming or you want to learn the Kotlin programming language as a beginner, then go ahead and start watching this tutorial. Throughout the tutorial, you're going to use Intellij, and if you don't have Intellij installed, you're going to see how you can install it and how you can start writing your Kotlin code on Intellij. So that's pretty much it. And in the next video, we're just going to see how you can download and install Intellij so that we can get ready for writing Kotlin code. So I will see you next time. Hi and welcome back. So in this video, let's see how you can get Intellij IDEA. And Intellij IDEA is the IDE that we are going to use for our Kotlin code. So Intellij IDEA is an IDE that you can use to write Java, Kotlin, and a bunch of other related programming languages. So we're going to be using the community edition. There's also an ultimate edition, but of course we're going to use the community edition. So I'm on Ubuntu, and if you are on Ubuntu as well, you'll just come under your software, Ubuntu software, and you can download Intellij from here. You can just search for Intellij, and then you'll download. You'll click to install the community edition. So here you'll have an option of install, and you can just click to install the community edition. So make sure that you are downloading the one from Snappy, from the Snap store. I haven't experienced any problems with the ones from Snap, so that's why I'm telling you to download this one. I downloaded the one from Flatpak, and I had a few issues at some point during the setup process, and that's why I'm telling you to download the one from Snap store. If you're on Windows, you'll just download this and make sure you click on Windows here, and then you'll download the exe version. And just before the next video, make sure you click on download, and I'm going to do a walkthrough on how you can install Intellij on Windows. So you're also going to need JDK on Windows. So make sure you download JDK and you download Intellij IDEA. So I'm going to do a walkthrough of that in the next video. So once you have it installed, you'll find it under your applications. You can search for your applications here. You'll see there you have Intellij. You can just double click on that. If everything is alright and the installation was okay, you can create a new project. You can import or you can open a project that you already had. So you can see I don't have any projects. I can click on create, and if you need to configure anything, you can just click there, and you'll be able to configure all these other settings on Intellij IDEA. So if you want to create a new project, you can just click there to create a new project. And since we're going to be using Kotlin, let's see how we can create a Kotlin project. So if you want to create a new project for Kotlin, you'll just scroll all the way down, and then you'll click on Kotlin, and then JVM IDEA, and then you go next, and you can give it a name and go next. So we're going to see all this in a couple of videos when we write our first Kotlin code. So in the next video, I'm just going to do a walkthrough of how you can install JDK and also how you can install Intellij on a Windows computer. And I will be using Windows 8.1. So if you're on Windows 10, the process should just be the same. So at this point, I'm just going to click cancel and end the video. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. And if you get lost or you experience any errors, just go to Google and search for the error, exactly how you're being given an output for the error. Okay, so if you get stuck, feel free to reach me, or you can just look for a solution on Google or YouTube. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to see how to install Intellij IDEA on Windows and also how to install JDK on Windows. So the first thing we need to install is the JDK, the Java Development Kit. So to install JDK, just go to Google and search for download JDK. And we want to choose this. So click on this one which says the downloads Oracle Technology Network. So click on that and then you'll end up on this page, and this page will show you the latest JDK. So I will just download this, which is the latest, and you'll just click here to download and then accept the terms and conditions there. Then for your system, choose the correct version. So I'm on Windows 64-bit, so I will just choose this one and go ahead and download it. I've already downloaded mine, so let's just go and install it. So just find the downloaded file and then you can double click on it. So please note that I'm on Windows 8.1, and if you are on Windows 10, then you can just do the same thing. So next, and let this finish, and then when we come back, we are going to see how you can add the JDK to your path variables on Windows. So I will see you in a moment. So once the installation is complete, just click on close. And then the next process is now to add the JDK variable to your path. You need to add JDK to your path variables on Windows. So if you come here into your folders, then you go inside of your PC. So if you're in Windows 8.1, you can follow along with me. If you're in Windows 10, I think this is called My PC. So just right click on this and then go to Properties, and then under Advanced, then here click on Environment Variables, and then where we have System Variables, whether you're on Windows 8, whether you're on Windows 8.1 or you're on Windows 10, you're going to have this. So just scroll down until you find Path. You are looking for Path. So double click on this, and on this we need to add the JDK path variable. So on this we need to add the path to where JDK is installed. So just scroll to the end of the line, and at the end of the line you need to add the path to your JDK. Where JDK was installed, you need to add that path. So let's go and find the path for where JDK is installed. And if I come here, I can go inside of the local disk where your programs are installed, and under program files, if you are on a 64-bit, you'll go under program files. If you're on a 32-bit, you'll go here. So I'll click on that, and then let's look for Java, and there we have the Java folder, and you can see we have version 13.1 installed, 13 installed, and under bin, this is a folder we need to add the link to. So I'll just copy this path, and then come back here, and at the end of this line we'll add a semicolon and then add the path. So once you add the semicolon, just paste in the path, and you can add another semicolon so that in future, if you need to add any other variables, you can just add them without adding the semicolon. In my case, I'll just click OK. 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 And if I open terminal, so right click on this and then open command prompt, and let's type javac. And if you see all this coming up, then your path variables is being recognized. But if you don't see this, then you have messed up somewhere and you need to follow along again just to see what you did wrong. So once you do that, the next process is installing Intellij. So Intellij, you can just go to Google and then search for download Intellij, and then you'll click this link to download Intellij from JetBrains, and then you'll come here and you'll download the community edition. So I'm sure you know how to install and download applications, so I'm not going to go through this process, but once you're done with this, I will see you in the next video when we start writing some code in Kotlin. So I will see you in the next video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And if at any point you get lost or you get stuck, feel free to reach me, or you can just use Google to search for the exact error you're receiving on your end. So I will see you in the next video. Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, let's see how you can create your first Kotlin project and then how you can also write a quick Kotlin code. So open Intellij. So to create a new project, just click here, create new project. Since we want to work with Kotlin, you're going to click on Kotlin and then you click on JVM idea and then you go next and you give it a title. Let's just give it a title of welcome. And if you're on Windows and you experience any problem in running your Kotlin code, make sure you come here and ensure that this shows the path to your JDK. Okay, so once you install JDK, you'll make sure that the path is reflected here. That's a problem with Windows. Sometimes you'll experience this problem if you've just installed Intellij. Leave everything else as there, and then I'll click on finish. Just close that and you can view your project files here. If you just click there, you'll view your project files. So your project Kotlin files will be inside here and your code will be inside of source. So if you want to create any new file, you'll just create it inside of source and we can create our first code. So if I right click, then I click on new, then I select new, I can choose Kotlin file or class. And let's just call this one, let's call it new, and we'll leave it at file. If you want to create a class, you can create a class, interface, and all these others, but you want to create a file. So I'll just double click on file. And here we can write our first Kotlin program. So let's add two numbers. Let's write a small amount of code that adds two numbers. So in Kotlin, you'll just write fun main and this is the main function. So this is a function that is run by default on any Kotlin program. So let's say we want to output the result of 2 plus 2. So we are going to say print okay, so you can click this green which is here. You can also find it here. Just click on run, or you can do Alt Shift F10, but I'm just going to click this one here, run. And you'll see the results for your code will be down here. So anything we do in here, we'll see the result here. We can also do 2 times 2. If we just copy this, copy, and then we paste it down there, and we do 2 times 3, 2 times 32, and then we run that, run. We're going to see the result will be here. So we're going to see the difference between print. You can do print and you can also do print line. So this is just a sample of how you can create a new project and how you can write your first Kotlin code. So you can see if this is print and print line, everything is printed on the same line, and that's not what we want. So if you want it in different lines, you'll do print line. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. So in this video, you've seen how you can create your first Kotlin code, how you can create the project and add some Kotlin code. So we'll see more about Kotlin as we go on throughout this tutorial. So I will see you in the next video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. In the last video, you saw how to create your first Kotlin project, and we created a project called Welcome. And then we ran this code and we saw the difference between print line and print. So in this video, let's just talk about the basic syntax of Kotlin, and we'll also talk about comments in Kotlin. So comments are a way for you to create documentation within your code. So documentation is important because it will help you understand what you are doing when you look at your code at a later date. So for example, let's say that this is our code and it does something major. So we want to create a documentation for this. You can use comments, and in Kotlin, you can do comments. You can do single line comments like this. That's a single line comment, and this will not be run. This will not be run. It will skip this and it will just look at the code. So the comments are very helpful if you're looking at your code at a later date. And you can also create multi-line comments. And if you want to create multi-line comments, you will just use this other format. So you'll put your comment in between here. So this will signify the beginning of the comment, and this will signify the end of the comment. So you can put your comments inside here in a multi-line statement. So let me just copy this. So if I copy this, copy, and I can put that in multi-lines, I will paste it in there, and I can paste it again and again. So you can see you can do multi-line comments, and this is how you do your multi-line comments. Okay, so just remember that comments are very helpful when you're creating real applications because they will help you understand what it is exactly a piece of code does. That's the work of comments, and you can also use them in debugging. So if maybe your code is not working well and you have a bunch of streams of code that you've already written, you can just comment out a piece to see if maybe that's where the problem lies. So if we comment this out, this will not be run, and we can just experiment that by running this. So you'll see we only had that one, but if we uncomment it and we run, it gives us the result of these two numbers. That's how to work with comments. And so for this one, you don't have to type this every single time, okay? If you want to use the main function, you don't have to type it every single time. So let me just create a new file here, and I will create new Kotlin file, and I will call it, and enter. So if you want to do the main function, you can also just type the word main, and Kotlin is going to give you the IntelliSense. So the IntelliSense in Kotlin can help you to avoid typing every single piece of code. So for instance, if you want to generate the main function, we're just going to do main. You just type the word main, and you can see that it brings you main and main A. So this is a main with arguments, and this is a main without arguments. So in certain programming tutorials about Kotlin, you will see that there are certain functions, there are certain main functions that come with arrays arguments. So in the recent release of Kotlin, they made it possible such that you could just run your code without having the arguments. So for this, if you want to generate the main function, I'll just click on main A, and it's going to give us that. So there are a bunch of others for different other inbuilt classes and inbuilt objects that you can use in Kotlin. So I just wanted to show you this so that you don't have to keep typing the main function every time you begin your new piece of code. So what is a main function? The main function is the main entry of a Kotlin program. So if you write a program, the main function is what will bring everything together, regardless of how many classes, how many objects, how many functions you have in your other pieces of code and in your other files. The main function is what is going to bring together all that piece of code. The entry point will be the main function. So just note that you can create other functions outside of this. You can create other classes outside of this, but everything will be pulled together via the main function. This is what will be run. This is what the compiler looks at first when you try to compile, when you try to run a piece of code. So in this video, we've said that you can use comments, and comments are a way for you to just document your code. And it's good for you to document your code so that if someone else is looking at it, they will know what a piece of code does. And you will also know what you are trying to do at a certain date when you look at your code, maybe in future. And we've also said that you don't have to type the main function every time when you're using the Intellij IDEA IDE. When you're using Intellij, you can just write the word main and then press enter to generate the function main. And we've also said that the main function is the entry point for your Kotlin application. So when you write a piece of code, when you write an application with multiple files, multiple objects, classes, all of them will be brought together using the main function. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Hi and welcome back. So this is where we stopped in the last video, and in this video let's start talking about variables in Kotlin. So what is a variable? Variables are used to store information that can be accessed by a program. So variables will just hold a certain memory in the computer registry, which can be replaced by a certain value in your code. The memory locations on your computer, you can set them using your code, and then you can replace the values in your code as well. So let's see what we mean by all this. And I want to copy this. And I'm also going to create a new file, and this file we're going to call it variables, new Kotlin file, and let's call it variable. I'll call it variable 1 because we will be doing more variable videos in the next upcoming videos. So I'll just click there to create the file. And then I will generate the main function just like I showed you in the last video. I will paste in the code that we copied. So here you can see that we have these two. So before I go on, I'm just going to do an example of variables, and then I'm going to explain them in a moment. So here you can see that we have two numbers that you can add. Let's do away with the first one. You have two numbers that you can add, okay? So here you have actual numbers. So let's say that you were to do this multiple times in your code. You'd have to remember every time the numbers that you need to add. In this case, you can use variables because variables will just have names, and you can replace the values of those variables. So let's do an example here, and I'm going to declare two variables, one for this and another one for that. Variables here in Kotlin can be declared using two keywords. You can use the var keyword or the val keyword. So first we're going to create a variable of the type integer. So we're going to have variable called num1, and it will be of the type integer, and we're going to initialize the value to 2. And I can just copy this, and we are going to declare another variable, num2. We're going to use the 2 variables, so we're going to do print line and num2. So what's going to happen is that when this runs, when the compiler sees this, it's going to look at the registry to see what value was assigned to this variable. Okay, so if you want to run this code even 100 lines down below, even 1,000 lines below, you won't even have to remember the values that you assigned. You'll only have to remember the name of the variable. That's why variables are very important. So if we run this, you're going to see it's going to give us the result of num1 times num2. And if you change the value, you can even see that even though I've defined the value as 2, I can come down here and replace the value again. We can redeclare the value of num1, and we can say the value now is 1000. Okay, so this time round, if we run it, it's going to be num1, which is the new value, times num2, which is the one we already have up there. So if I run this, you're going to see the new value is based on what we have. We can even redeclare the value of num2. The new value of num2 now is 23. So we can run that as well. So you can see the point is variables will register values within your memory, and you can change the value of what is contained in the variable. So in Kotlin, you can also declare a variable using the val keyword. Now the val keyword is used to define or declare read-only values. So if you have values that will not be reassigned and cannot be reassigned, and you don't want them to be reassigned, you can use the val keyword. Let's say, for example, you're doing an application for a certain country, and in that country, the tax, let's just call it VAT. The VAT in this country is maybe 14%. So in this case, you see that VAT will not change. If the country has declared in the law that the value added tax in that country is 14%, you cannot change that in your application. So the application that you're building will have to reflect on the real value of VAT in that specific country. So if you want to declare read-only variables, you can use the val keyword. Okay, the val keyword. These are variables that you can change. You can mutate them however you want in your code. The val keyword, however, you cannot mutate this. Now let's say that let's just come down here and create another one. Let's just do VAT times 10, and if we run this, you're going to see we get the value of 140. But right now, let's try to redeclare the value of VAT, and we see what error Kotlin is going to give us. Now you can see that this is already underlined with a red line, and it says val cannot be reassigned. You can read val cannot be reassigned. So if we try to run this, we're going to get an error, val cannot be reassigned. So if you declare a variable using val, then that value will not be reassignable. You cannot change its value. It will be a read-only variable in your code. So that's what was happening here. So I'll just comment this one out, and then I can add more. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. So just a recap, we've said that in Kotlin, you can declare a variable using the var keyword or the val keyword. The var keyword is used to declare variables that are mutable. These are variables whose values you can change at any time in your code, like we did here. And we can also declare a variable using the val keyword. If you use the val keyword, the value that you declare using a val keyword cannot be mutated. It will be a read-only value, and you cannot change its value. Like we tried to reassign the value here, and we got an error. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, feel very free to let me know. Hi and welcome back. So this is where we stopped in the last video, and in this video let's continue talking about variables in Kotlin. So we're going to look at an example that's going to help us continue working with variables. And the example we've been given certain variables and we're supposed to calculate various things. So we have a dog grooming business, and in this business there are variables that have been declared, and we're going to use these variables to solve certain problems. So let me just show you the problem, and then you can have a look at it as well, and you can download all these files in the link provided. So in the link shown, you will download this item and you can have it with you along with all the source code that you've already done so far. Let's go back to the problem, and what we have here is Pet Grooming Zone PGZ is a pet grooming business located in Shah Town. On a Thursday, 164 legs walked into Pet Grooming Zone. On this Thursday, find out all this, and we've been given these variables which will help us find out all of this. Okay, so in this business they groom dogs, so they groom pets basically, but we're going to look at dogs in our example. So in our example we have normal dogs, and a normal dog will have 4 legs. So out here you see we have a variable declared with 4 legs. So a normal dog has 4 legs, and then nails, a normal dog also has 18 nails. And then this is the pricing per nail. This is how much the customers get charged per nail, and then we also have a variable message. So we're going to declare these variables, and then I'm going to explain the differences between them. So this example is going to help us learn more about variables and how we can declare them, and then we're going to solve all these problems that we have here. So you can download this and you follow along with me. All right, so let's go back to our IDE, and we're going to create a new variable file. The first one we had was this variable one. Now let's create another file to help us from now on. So new Kotlin file or class, and then we're going to call this variable 2, and it will be created. And let me generate the main class. If I copy this, paste. So here we have a variable of the type val that has been declared, and this variable is called legs, and this variable is of the type integer, and it has been initialized with 4. So why we've declared this as val is because a normal dog has 4 legs. That's why we've declared this as a val. So you cannot change the number of legs on a dog. With this, you can see that we have immediate assignment, and you saw an example of this in the last video, whereby we declared a variable and we assigned an initial value. In this case, we've assigned 4. So this is the normal way of declaring variables, and with this it is very explicit. We know that the variable is of the type int, and the variable has been pre-assigned the value of 4. And then let's look at this other one. So you can see here that we have declared the type, and if you don't want to declare the type, you will have to give an initial value. In the second variable, we have a variable called nails, and this variable has been pre-assigned the value of 18, and we haven't given it a type, so the type will be inferred from the initial value. Okay, so if you give it an initial value, then the compiler will assume that the data type of this variable is what you've pre-assigned it. So in this case, it will infer the int type. It will assume that this variable can only store integers based on the initial value that you've provided. Look at this other one we have. So pricing per nail, the variable name, and we've given this one a type of float, and we've given it an initial value. So here, float. So here you must add an f if it is a float, 0.75 f to let it know that it's a float. So the float type is defined in this case. So you can also declare a variable as of the type string. So a string is a variable type of words. If you want to declare variables which are words, statements, things like that, you can use the data type of string. So in this case, you can see we have not initialized the value. And if you haven't initialized the value, like in this case, we've initialized the value. If you haven't initialized the value, you must give it a type. Okay, you cannot have the variable and the name without a type. So if you remove the type, you're going to receive an error like that. Variable must either have a type annotation or be initialized, like this was initialized and this was initialized as well as with a data type. So with this, let's just do Ctrl+Z to get back the data type. All right, so with this, you can also give it an initial value. And if you want to initialize this string, maybe it's a message that on every day they give out a message to their customers, welcome to Pet Grooming Zone. So something like that. If you want to give it an initial value, you can do so as well for a string like this. So if you're using strings, you must enclose strings in quotation marks. So if you're declaring a string, then you have to add the double quotations for this. For numbers, any type of numbers, you don't have to add any quotations, but for strings, you must. So that's it for this video. We've declared all these variables. We've seen the different types of variables and how you can declare them. You can declare a variable with its name and the data type, and you can initialize it as well. So you've immediately assigned the value. You can do away with the data type. And in this case, if you do away with the data type, you must give it an initial value, and the data type will be inferred from the data type of the initial value you provide. And in this case, we just declared a float, and you can also declare a string. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know. And we said that for this one, we don't need this bit. And if you declare a variable without giving it an initial value, you must explicitly define its type, like we've done in this case as a string. So that's what we wanted to do in this video. And in the next video, let us start to use these variables to solve these problems. So you can download this file in the link that is provided here. So I will see you in the next video. Hi and welcome. This is where we stopped in the last video, and in the last video we looked at all these variable declarations and what's different between each declaration. And we also have a problem that we're supposed to solve here. And we're going to start with the first one. How many dogs were groomed on that day? So on this day, PGZ, the pet grooming business, received a number of dogs, and the total number of legs that walked into this business on this Thursday was 164 legs. So we want to use that to calculate the number of dogs that were groomed on that day. So let's start the first solution. 164 legs walked into the pet grooming zone. How many were groomed on that day? How many dogs were groomed on this day? So this is the first problem that we have. A normal dog has 4 legs, and we're going to assume that all our dogs are healthy and all our dogs are normal dogs. So let's calculate the number of dogs that walked into this business on this day. So if you want to do that, we're going to divide the number of legs that walked in divided by legs. So we're just going to do it simply by printing the value. So we're going to do print line. And we're going to print 164 divide by legs. Okay, so 164 divide by legs. So let's run that. And you'll see that on this day, 41 dogs walked into this business. So we can join them, and joining is called concatenation. So we can concatenate things here. Maybe you want to say on Thursday, 41 dogs walked into PGZ. So let's just leave that on there. And we're going to come down here and do a new concatenation. Concatenation is just joining statement. So first I want to do it the long way, which is concatenation, and then after concatenation I'm going to teach you about string literals, templates, and we're going to see how we can use templates to make things easier for us. So in this case, let's do a print line. And we want it to say that on Thursday, this number of dogs walked in. And we're going to do a plus. And we can actually do this here, or we can store it in a variable. So instead of doing 164 legs plus that, you will do a variable. You can store this in a variable. And I'm going to do that in a moment so that you can see what I mean. So print line, on Thursday, there were this number of dogs. On Thursday, dogs were groomed. All right, so let's just run that. So you'll see that it will bring us this result, which says that on Thursday, this number of dogs were groomed. So you can see I'm not deleting anything. I'm just leaving them there, and then you'll find them within the comments. So if you make any mistake, you can just see where you messed up by looking at the commented sections. So we can take this one, copy, and I want to store this in a variable, right? I can just declare the variable right here, right now. Okay, so this has declared a variable. So this has declared a variable dogs, and it's going to calculate the value of this and then put it inside of dogs. So I can just come back here and I will copy this, copy, put it down there, and in place of this, let's do dogs. So you can see it's already advising us to convert this to a template, okay? And I'm going to do that so that you can see what this is about. But first, let us just run this. And you'll see that it brings out the same results, okay? let's convert this to templates. So if I just click on this, it can convert this to templates. And what it does is it removes the concatenation sign, and the concatenation sign that we were using was, we were using the plus sign to concatenate. Okay, we use the plus, one plus something plus something plus something, and it will join them together. So instead of doing that, you can use templates. Okay, you can do templates, and templates will just join the items together. So let's say that maybe we want to concatenate something else. Let me just do a small example of concatenation again, so that you can see how it works. You can even do the concatenation with this. So I can do the template using this. So I will comment this one out, and let's do print. And we want to do the same thing. On Thursday, this number of dogs walked in. So I will put everything inside of a quotation. And on Thursday, copy. Now this is where everything gets interesting. So I'm going to use this. I'm not going to use what's it called? I'm not going to use the variable name. So if you want to do a calculation within a template string, this is how you'll do it. You just put everything inside of a square bracket. You can just remove this. And then, oh yeah, you need to add the $sign here. You add a $sign, and that's going to do the calculation of that. And then, Thursday, dogs were groomed. Copy. So you can see this is a much easier thing to do than to keep adding this using the concatenation plus signs. So on Thursday, it's going to calculate that, and then it's going to give out the result, and it's going to put that in between here. So everything you put inside of a template string will be output. So if you add spaces here, those spaces will be output just like you add them. Okay, so let's run this, and if you run it, you're going to see the result is just as we anticipated. So anything you put inside of a template string will come out. So this template string is very nice because we're going to use this from now on. If we need to concatenate anything, we will not be using the concatenation plus sign. We'll be using template strings. So if you don't understand this, I do have some videos. I can't recall the exact title of the videos, but you can check out JavaScript template strings JavaScript, and if you look at my channel on YouTube, I have a lot of videos about this, and you'll understand it very well because I remember doing a very, very thorough explanation of this using JavaScript. So you just search for that on my channel, YouTube channel, and you will find these template strings clearly explained in JavaScript, and it's just the same thing. It's just the same way it is used in Kotlin. It's the same way it's used in JavaScript. All right, so in this video, we set out to calculate how many dogs were groomed on that day. And during the process, you've seen how we can do it in different ways. The first method we used concatenation. The first method, we just did a simple mathematical calculation here, and we calculated the number of legs that walked in divided by legs that each dog has. And then in the second method, we did the same thing using concatenation, and then we did the concatenation using templates. And here you can just replace this with the variable the same way we did here. So if you're doing the concatenation using the plus signs, you won't need the dollar sign. Okay. And we also saw how you can do the same thing using template strings. So if you want to do this using this, you can also just put the variable name of dogs that we created here. So just go through this video. If you have any questions, feel very free to let me know. If there's anything that you don't understand, okay, don't suffer in silence. Just let me know and ask your questions and I will answer them for you. Okay. Or if there's something that you still don't understand, just go to Google or YouTube and search for it. Maybe you don't understand template strings in this case. You can just look at what templates are in Kotlin, right? But I would advise you, if you want to understand these template things, I do have some videos about JavaScript that have this in details. So just go and look that up on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find them on my YouTube channel. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, feel very free to let me know. Okay. I will see you in the next video. And in the next video, we are going to see how we can calculate the number of groomers who are employed in PGZ. So I will see you in that video. Hi and welcome back. So in the last video, we did solve this and you saw how you can calculate the number of dogs that were groomed on that day. And you can download all these files on the link provided. So in the last video, we also spoke about something small about templates and how you can use them instead of using concatenation. So in this video, let's do this second problem. Let's solve the second problem. And the second problem that we have is, if each groomer at PGZ saw an average of 4 dogs, how many groomers are employed by PGZ? So for this, you can see that for this to work, you need the answer of this. And we already calculated how many dogs were there in the last video. And I've just noticed that for us to get a whole number, we have to change the value that we started with. And here we started with 164. And the number that I can think of which will give us the closest for us to get a whole number will be 44. So we have the number of dogs need to be 44. And if you divide this by 4, you get 41. So for us to get the closest number to divide by that can be divisible by 4, we need to change this to 176. 176. If you divide, yeah, that will be 44. So we can change this to 176, and we're going to change this in our code. We don't have to change it here. We'll just change it in the code so that we can get whole numbers. So if you want to calculate the number of groomers that were there on the day, we're going to divide the number of dogs by the average of the dogs groomed. So I'm going to create a new file here. I'll just come here inside of source and I will say new, and I want to create a Kotlin file or class, and I will call it variable 3. And I will generate the main class. And I also want to use this variable, so I'll just copy these variables, copy, and I will just paste them in there. And for our documentation, let's put that within our file. So I will copy that and I will paste it in there. We also need to change legs to 176. Okay, so if you want to calculate the number of dogs, let's just calculate this variable and let's store it inside of a variable. And if you didn't watch the last video, go ahead and watch it, because I'm taking code from the last video, and if you didn't watch that video, you might get confused. So watch the last one. So var dogs divide by legs, right? If you want to find the number of dogs, we will divide the number of legs divided by the average number of a dog's legs. So a normal dog has 4 legs, and we put that in our variable there. So this one, we need to change this to 176. And this is going to give us the new number of dogs. Okay. And we're going to use this to know how many groomers we have. So here we've been told that each groomer saw an average of 4 dogs on that day. So how many groomers are employed in that business? So to calculate the number of groomers who are employed in the business, we're going to need to divide the number of dogs that came in by the average of dogs who were groomed by each groomer on that day. So we're going to do, let's just output the result, and it's going to be, we're going to use templates. So let's do print line. So we're going to say something like, there are X number of groomers employed by PGZ. So the calculation will be inside of this. So this is how you can do calculation within a template string. So if it's just one item, maybe it's a variable, you can just put the variable name after this, and you saw an example of that in the last video here, like that, okay? And for this one, we're just going to put dogs divided by 4. So dogs divided by 4, and there are this number of dogs, this number of groomers, employed at PGZ. So if we print this, so I can just do right click and then run variable 3. With that, you can see that there are 11 groomers employed at PGZ, and that will give us the result of what we wanted to find out. So there are 11 groomers employed at PGZ. So that's the second solution that we have here. And in the next video, we're just going to see how we can solve the third one. How many nails did each groomer clip on this day? So if we already know the number of dogs that each groomer clipped on this day, and we also know the number of nails that each dog has. So a normal dog has 18 nails, okay? 5 at the front, 4 at the back. So we're going to use this in the next video, and I will see you in the next video. If you have any questions or you're lost, just feel free to let me know. And in your, as your assignment, you can do this using concatenation, okay? Convert this to a concatenation and see your result, okay? And you saw how we did concatenation in the first video, but always use the templates instead of concatenation. So I will see you in the next video. This is where we stopped in the last video. In the last video, we calculated how many groomers are employed at PGZ, and we used all these variables that we have here. So the next one that we have is how many nails did each groomer clip on this day? Now this is a very easy one. Copy the question because we're going to use this for our documentation. I will create a new file. Let me come here inside of source, and I will create a new Kotlin file, and I will call this variable for. Let me generate the main class. So how many nails did each groomer clip on this day? So each groomer saw an average of 4 dogs. This is from the second question. And we also need all these variables. Let me just declare all of them, even though we are not going to use some of them. All right, so what we need is nails times the number of dogs. So this is a very simple one. You can just do print line. Each groomer clipped X number of nails on this day, okay? And we're going to use templates as usual. So print each groomer and then we're going to have our calculation here, and you can put the calculation within the string brackets. So we'll have our calculation here. So let's just continue on writing the next part of this, but we'll come back and put our calculation inside there. So each groomer clipped so here we need to do nails times the average number of dogs that were clipped by each groomer. So it's going to be nails times 4. This is going to give us the number of nails that each groomer clipped on that day. So just that simple. If you run this, you are going to get your result. Run. You're going to see each groomer clipped 72 nails on this day. Okay, so let's see if there is any other question here that we need to look at. How much money was made on that day? So let's do the second question as well in this video. So let's create another comment down here. How much money was made on that day? So for this, we're going to need pricing per nail. All right. And this is going to be pricing per nail times the number of nails that walked into PGZ on that day. You can use any of the numbers, but you remember we did change this. For one of the videos, we changed to 176. So how much money was made is going to be pricing per nail times the total number of nails. Okay. So on this day, let's do our calculation here. On this day, this much money was made. So the easiest one would be the number of dogs times 18 times this, okay? And the number of dogs, we can just copy that from here. Let's just use. So if you haven't watched the last videos, make sure you watch them because you'll just be lost in this process. So let's declare that variable here so that we can have the number of dogs. So dogs, okay, in this case, let's just use 176. It's the one we used in the last video. So var dogs 176. So we're going to have dogs, the number of dogs times nails. If each dog has 18 nails, how many nails do this have? And once we get the total number of nails that came into PGZ on that day, we're going to multiply that with this. So it's going to be, let's start by multiplying dogs. So it's going to be dogs times nails will give us the total number of nails that came into PGZ on that day, and then the total number of nails times the pricing per nail. So the pricing per nail. So in this place, maybe somebody comes in and they just want the front toes to be clipped. So on this day, this much money was made. Okay, let's run this. I'll just right click and click on run variable. So, okay, let's comment out this. We don't need to see that. So let's just run that one. So on this day, 594 was made. So we can say $594 was made. So you can just add the dollar sign there. So anything you put inside of the template strings, they will be output. And if you want to learn more about template strings, I have some videos, JavaScript videos that you can look at. So I will just run variable. So you can see on this day, this was made. So you normally put the dollar in front, right? So you can see even if I put $2 here, the first dollar will be assumed to be an actual string, and the next one will be used within the calculation for the templates. So let me run that again. And on this day, $594 was made. So that answers this question. Okay, how much money was made on that day? Okay, so you see we did declare this variable, but we didn't use it. So in the next video, let's just come up with some kind of template string like that will enable us to use this variable somewhere. So I will see you in the next video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And as I've said, you can download this file and follow along with me, and make sure you watch all the videos so that you don't get lost at any point, because you can see that as we go further and further, I'm doing less explanations because anything that I explained in a previous video will not warrant to be explained in the current or any future video. So if you haven't watched the video, just go back and watch it. And if you feel lost, feel free to reach out. I will see you in the next video when we continue from here. Hi and welcome back. In the last video, this is what we did. We calculated the total amount of money that was made on this day. So in this video, let's see how we can use this variable. Okay, so let's say that we want to create a report for the day, right? For instance, we want to create a report whereby number of dogs groomed, the total number on this side, the number of groomers who showed up for work, total number on that side, the number of nails that were groomed, number on that side, and then the message for the day. Let's assume this is a message for the day. So this is like telling people we are here for you. Let's first of all initialize this variable. You can see we've declared it so many times in all our previous files, but we haven't used it. So if you haven't watched the previous videos about this Kotlin variable part, make sure you watch them, because if you don't, you're going to get lost. All right, so let's create a new file, and I'm going to copy this because I will be using this. Copy, file, new, and we want to create Kotlin file or class, and we'll call it variable 5. And then let's generate the main class. Paste in the variables in there. And let's just say this is a report and we want to do the report in multi-line. You're going to see how we can do multi-line. Maybe you want our output to be something like this down here. So we're going to see how to do that using the template strings. So in this video, we're going to do multi-line template strings. Let's just write a documentation down here and say that is a report for the day. Okay, so first let's initialize the message, and we can say message is equals okay, so that's our message. We want to do some sort of a report, and in our report we want to have the result of all this. Dogs groomed. So the first one will be dogs groomed. So if you want to do multi-line, and multi-line is basically whereby we want to have everything in a single line like this using template strings. So if you want to do multi-line, you'll use three double quotes like this. So let's say we want to do print line. And you'll do 3 double quotes, so there'll be a total of 6 of them. And what we want to be in multi-line will be inside here. So if you press enter, everything you put inside here will be on its own line, and this trim indent will basically remove the indentation. And I'm going to show you what this does once we have a result. So the first item that we have will be number of dogs groomed. So number of dogs groomed on this day, let's use 176 as our base number, because for us, if you have this file, everything began from the base number of legs walking in. So let's make that 176 so that everything else will just work out fine. I spoke about this in previous videos. If you haven't watched that, make sure you watch those videos. Number of dogs groomed on this day will be 176 divided by 176 divided by the total number of legs on every dog, which is 4. So that's our first report of the day. Groomers, okay, number of groomers. How many groomers do we have here today? So groomers, we will look at groomers based on the number of dogs. So for this, let me just come back here and I will copy this because I don't want to type that in there. I will just declare that. I will declare that there, and number of groomers will be the total number of dogs that came in on that day, which is this divided by. So actually, since we have this in here, we can just replace that there. So instead of doing the calculation there, it will be done here, and it will be stored in the variable. So number of groomers, we have dogs divided by 4, because each groomer, we are told from the problem, each groomer, so an average of 4 dogs on that day. So var dogs divide by 4. This will give us the number of groomers who are there today. And what else do we need to report here? Here, let's just do the total nails clipped. And I can also store this in a variable. So let me come here. And I want to do total nails clipped. And total nails clipped will be the number of dogs times the number of nails each dog has. So dogs, we already have a variable there. So it will be dogs times nails. And this is going to give us the total number of nails clipped. And let's add that down here. So total nails clipped, we'll just use the variable copy. And finally, we need to know the amount of money that was made. Total revenue on this day. So the total revenue on this day will be the total nails clipped times the average per nail. I can just do that here. Total nails clipped, copy. So just know that this is within our template strings, okay? Everything is still inside of our templates. Total nails clipped times pricing per nail. Copy that. We also need to add our message of the day. Message of the day, right? So what's going to happen is this is going to get output for us just the way they are here. They're going to get output for us here. So if I run this, you'll see that we have our report down here. Number of dogs groomed, number of groomers, total nails clipped, total revenue there. And here in total revenue, we can add another $sign here. We can add a $sign so that our value can have currency. So number of dogs groomed, number of groomers, total nails clipped, total revenue, and message of the day was that. Okay. So what does this do? This basically just removes the trim, which is at the end here. So here, if I remove this, you'll see that we'll have no indentation. So if I remove that and I run it, you'll see that there will be indentation here. So if you don't want the indentation, then you can add the trim. And that will trim out the indentation. All right. So by now, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, or you can go to YouTube or Google and search for any problems that you're still having. If you want to learn more about this, just go to Google or YouTube, and you'll always find solutions about this kind of stuff, because there are other videos and there are other documentations on Kotlin as well as other blogs. So if you have anything that is still not clear to you, just make sure you use the internet to find the answers you're looking for. And if you have any questions, I'm also here. You can ask me questions that you're currently having as a beginner in this Kotlin programming language. So I will see you in the next section when we move on from this, and this is the last video about variables. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask them, okay? That's it for this part about variables. So that's it for this part about Kotlin variables. All right. That's it for this part of this Kotlin tutorial for beginners. I will see you in the next part when I create the new class. So when I publish the class, you will get a notification. That is, if you're following me. So follow me and you will get a notification when the new class is released. So I will see you in the next part of this Kotlin tutorial for beginners.